It's time for the all-important taste test. All right, we are here today to answer what I think is one of the most important questions in Lifestream. Did the USA Manufacturing and Lifestream fix the horrible pringling problem that we have on cards and Elestrals from previous prints? Just look at how much room there is between those layers there.
And of course, we gotta do a bit of a taste test. We gotta know if they're a little bit delicious.
So make sure you stick to the end for the taste test. If you're not already familiar with the warped cardboard woes of previous printings that came after Kickstarter and before Livestream, you should check out the full video I made explaining what's going on with warping in Elestrals cards and how to fix it. We're not going to replay all of that history. You're welcome to go watch the original video, though. Today, the pertinent question is it fixed? To answer this question, I have done a full round of testing on new Lifestream cards, and for reference, in parallel, I got a pack fresh Firestorm card that I put out at the same time, and here it is against a non-hollow spirit, and you can see just sitting out in my house how incredibly warped this card, this poor Scavicle champion, became in the time period I did this testing. To conduct this testing, I put one card on top of my computer where it would be toasty semi-regularly and randomly, one just out in my house like I did with the Firestorm card, and one in the place I call the Pringle Factory, which is my garage, which on cards before Livestream would Pringle the car in like half a day. It was very efficient at it. So here are the three cards in question, and you know what? They're flat as heck. Look at how flat they are. You cannot see a discernible Pringle. There's nothing on that would get caught as being marked. If you look very closely, there's like a slight bend on one of them. If I compare this up, you can see just ever so slightly there, its edges are raised just a little bit. But if you put this in a sleeve like you would for actual play, it's not discernible from other cards. These things are virtually flat in my environment. Now, not everyone lives exactly where I do, and cards are subject to their conditions. Whether you are drier or warmer is going to affect how much they Pringle. So, to see how well the old methods worked, I wanted to force a Pringle. We have methods to make you bend, little Haparu. The first method was my heated 3D printer bed, a super hostile environment that applies more heat to this card than it should ever naturally encounter. It didn't cause any Pringling. None of the cards Pringled after sitting on a heated 3D printer bed for an hour, which was very surprising to me. I really thought it was going to force a Pringle, but that is okay. My little sad neck there, you have not fully escaped the torture of testing. Into the steam box you go. After being in a steamy bathroom where I used not only hot water in the shower, but a steamer I had to make sure the room was steamy as possible. These cards literally had water droplets on them I had to wipe off. They are still flat. They're still flat. These cards are made of magic. And you might be wondering, well, those are reverse hollows, and there's new things like textured hollows and stuff. I had this Centarbor. I tested this Centarbor. This Centarbor is still flat. There are no issues with this Centarbor. Look at it, has just a little bit of the edge raising I talked about on the other card. It's not 100,000% flat. But again, you put this in a sleeve and it's not discernible when you're cutting a deck compared to our friend Scavicle here, who can rock back and forth and is the most obviously marked card around. Now, I know the first run of the new manufacturer cards had some various quality issues that are being investigated by both the manufacturer and Elestrals. I'm sure they will sufficiently get those sorted out. But as far as Pringling goes, these cards are beautiful. These cards are wonderful. I am so happy to have nice holo cards that are not going to Pringle on me. The original goal of putting these cards through a torture test was to force a Pringle for people who lived in more extreme environments than myself and figure out whether or not something like a laminator would work. I can't imagine you living in an environment that is more hostile than being in my shower or on top of a 3D printer bed heater. If you do happen to put these cards through Hades and back, my recommendation would be to just do moisture treatment on them to get them back to flat, and they will probably stay that way based on all of the evidence I have. Now, of course, that's not the end of the video. I know you stuck around for the taste test, and if you stuck to this point for the taste test, go ahead and smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Without further ado, it's time for the all-important taste test. We have a full suite of cards to savor here today, a non-holo, a holo, and a textured, so we can really get all of the nuance of the new manufacturer and the different options they provide. We of course have a delicious Drataya champion here. I figured a little fruit boy would be pretty tasty. It's our non-holo for the sampling. It will give us a baseline for how the new manufacturer cards taste. We'll go ahead and just dig in here a little bit of a sample. It's a real kind of papery feel to it. You know, there's a little bit of sweetness hidden inside of it, actually. Yeah. It's got a bit of a hard chew on it. A little hard to chew up there, but you get a vague sweetness from the non-holo Drataya. Now, for the holo taste testing, I figured the Giroflora would have a nice fruity sense to it. I know it has the flowers on it. It just seemed like it would be real tasty, and I'm curious how the holo layer affects the flavor. We'll take a little bite here. Oh yeah, that's a stiffer chew than the Drataya. You know, weirdly, I don't get as much flavor from it. I think I need a bigger bite. Huh. You know, that's weird. The Drataya had like a sense of sweetness to the bite. I'm really getting no flavor out of the holo. Maybe I need a real good bite here though. No. Huh. All right, so where the Drataya had like a sweetness to it, that was really not very flavorful. I think it'd make like a good rice bed or something like that, something that would take on the flavor of the spices you're trying to impart to it. Now, of course, no taste testing is complete without texture. You know, your tongue is really interesting because it's kind of like fingers. You're really tasting the structure of the thing you're eating. Flavonoids, when you put a crust on a steak, really kind of add that texture experience. So I'm curious how the texture experience of a Centaur adds or subtracts from the flavor of the new print cards. Let's find out. Oh, that's even stiffer. It's even stiffer of a chew. Okay, that's real interesting. Need a little more there to get flavor though. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. This one's a little bitter, actually. Got a little bitterness to it. All right, so to summarize, your non-holo cards have a bit of sweetness to them, a good accent to a savory meal, or maybe you make them into a dessert. The holos are really flavorless. I think they'd make a great kind of staple, something you'd use like a bed of rice with all of the extra reverse holos you have sitting around. The textured cards are really interesting. They have a slight bitter flavor to them. A real difficult chew, though. You might need to put these in like a stew or something where they could soften up a little bit. That is it for today. Thank you for joining me on this insane ride, and I hope you enjoy the nice new printings of Lifestream as much as I do. Happy casting, my fellow Clashers!